welcome back to Ensuring Success 2023. We are coming to you live from Dallas, Texas at AMS Pictures. And we are so glad you're here with us today. This is session 10 out of 14, so we hope you're planning on staying with us for the whole 14 sessions, because we're doing it, so you should be here with us. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors who make this event possible. We could not do it without them. And our sponsors include, one moment, my computer back.
Would you like me to take them?
No, I got it. ADP, Avalara, BotKeeper, Canopy, Instead by Corvi, CPA.com, eFile4Biz, Relay, WriteWorks, SafeSend, SureLink, Walters Kluwer, Xero, and Zoho. And this session in particular is sponsored by CPA.com. So we're grateful that they are making it possible for us to offer free CPE credit for you. Speaking of CPE credit, if you're planning on requiring CPE credit for this session, note that we will break 3 times during the session. Each time we'll have a quick word from our sponsor, CPA.com, and then we will return and show a code on the bottom of the screen, and you will hear this sound. That's a reminder to you to write down that code. It's a 3-digit code. There'll be 3 of them during the session. You'll need those codes in order to verify your attendance in this session. And then whenever you're ready to claim your credits, you can go to the CPE option on the top of our screen, and there's a list where you can enter all the codes from all the sessions you've attended and download your CPE certificates immediately. So I am Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'd like to introduce the panel that we have for this session, and that includes next to me Michael Lee and Jayson Brannon, Sean Duncan, and my co-moderator, Alexandra DeFelice. I'll have each of them introduce themselves briefly.
Awesome. Hey, my name's Michael Lee. I'm CEO of Reconciled, and we're an outsourced online accounting firm for small business, and I call both Arizona and Vermont home.
Awesome. Thanks, Gail. Jayson Brannon. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Customer Success at CPA.com. CPA.com is the technology and business arm of the AI CPA. So excited to be here today.
Thank you for coming.
And my name's Sean Duncan. I'm the founder of SMD Consulting and Accounting. It's a focused firm on advisory services. And that led into me starting Chief Proactive Advisors, which is a company where I teach other accountants actually how to move into advisory work if they've been stuck in compliance work.
And I'm Alexandra DeFelice, Director of Marketing and Business Development for Payne & Fears Law Firm in Southern California. I am co-moderating with Gail, and I'm taking audience questions all day. Please, if you have a question, it's under the streaming video. We love to give our panelists live questions and put them on the spot. And also your dedicated bell ringer for your CPE. Okay,
thank you. And speaking of entering questions, not only can you enter questions for our speakers, but please, if you have any issues with the broadcast or anything, you can enter your questions there and even just provide a nice shout out for us, because we'd love to hear from you. So this session is Approachable Advisory, wrapping your arms around spend management. So let's start by talking about what do we mean by spend management, and how do we differentiate that from expense management, because they sound kind of close to the same thing.
Sure, Gail. I can kick things off there, and I think you alluded to it perfectly, right? I think a lot of firms that we talk to, their clients have been doing expense management, or they've been helping them with expense management, for many years. If we think about that kind of process, we think about historical kind of visualization into how a business spends today. So, somebody goes to a conference. I'm fresh off of a conference in Las Vegas. We swipe our card, we have our expenses that are there, and in a historical expense management kind of process, my company might not see those expenses for another 30 or 45 days, knowing how we are kind of tracking against budget. So if we think about that, if we think about expense management, spend management is really an evolution, right? It's an evolution that's now, we're seeing technology be able to play a bigger role, and it's allowing both the firms and their clients build better strategies, proactive strategies in how they should be spending, how they should be looking at their budget, and then the technology to support those transactions real time. So it's about visibility. It's about those controls on the front end. So you always have a kind of a real good litmus test of how you're doing against your budgets that you've laid out.
So it's proactive rather than reactive.
Perfectly said.
Well, in a lot of ways too, because I do advisory, this is sort of expense management is what you automatically think of. We're going to manage the budget. We're going to make choices on what we're going to spend money on. Oh, we're spending too much money on meals and entertainment. That's expense management, choosing how you're spending money. But the spend management is an advisory service on the controls and processes around it. What tools do I use so I can get that information sooner? Not wait 30, 45 days to go, whoa, 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 brother, you just spent $7,000 on a dinner? You can catch that, block it, manage it, give authorizations sooner than just, hey, you spent too much. We can catch it and then now get things more real time and control that company. Because again, if you got 15 salespeople running around out in the field, you want to know what the heck's going on as soon as possible so that you can make tactical and strategic decisions. So it's being proactive, but the expediency of that proactivity. You know, a lot of people think I reviewed last month's financials, that's proactive. And it is. It's better than typically in April figuring it out that you didn't do it last year. It's just taking it another step. And I love that you said it's an evolution. It's bringing it even more efficient and adding more processes around it.
Yeah, and technology today now allows us to have real-time insight into all of this, but also I think also the goal is focused on and actually empowering your whole team to be able to have more insight and more discretion on what they're spending on versus like you said, spend it, wait 30 days, put it in your expense report and hope it gets approved, which is probably still a lot of businesses function that way, but because of new technology out and the desire to really distribute control of that spend across the organization, we're able to now give that power to most of the organization instead.
So we're talking about real time. So as you spend it, the home office knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just putting a limit on a credit card, right? I mean, we think of it sometimes, and actually that's kind of the first version of it. Susie only has $500 on her credit card, and it'll stop it at a limit. Well, this is very different. It's taking the next decision point. You know, they can only spend money on this, or I have to see it if it's over this amount. And now we're not worried about the credit card control because we got all the other controls in the systems for whatever you choose to do.
I had a really good conversation with a firm earlier this week who specialized in trucking companies. So their niche was trucking companies. And they painted this kind of perfect picture around spend management. They, working with the firm, helped them strategize kind of their budget around their field truckers and where they could spend their money and what they could spend their money on. So they had a big problem with, a trucker might go and get fuel, but while they go inside to the convenience store, they pick up maybe lunch and, their waters and their Gatorade, and all of a sudden, over time, that those expenses really balloon. A great practical example here was being able to put proactive controls on that fleet that when they're at a gas station, the only way that card works is to purchase fuel. And so, that kind of other expenses, they don't even have to have that awkward conversation around we're not going to approve you, as you were saying, Michael.
Right.
It's just, it's proactively the controls are set to.
Okay.
And you realize those controls are really going to screw up a Buc-ee's. I mean, my gosh, now it's just gas. Who goes to, now they can't buy their lawn chairs and their vacation packages at once on their company car.
Come on.
I know. I mean, I got to get my barbecue, but no, it's huge because thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars are wasted on just something as simple as a gas station for folks. And who knows? And it applies to every industry. That just is one where I've also seen tons of abuse.
Sure.
Other examples besides trucking industries?
Well, technology now, the tools out now let you decide the controls down to the vendor level, by vendor, which vendors are permissible, are you allowed your organization to spend on, and also down to the dollar amount level, and then the issuance and the speed of issuing virtual cards. So you no longer have to have a physical card present on you, but you actually can allow your team members to have virtual numbers to give by vendor or by expense. So then the moment you want to shut off that access or shut off that spend, you can do that with that vendor immediately because of the use of the updated technology. That wasn't available to most organizations or small businesses across the U.S. until more recently. You really had to be a large enterprise to get that level of sophistication. Now small businesses and micro-organizations have that.
Okay.
And one of the cool things is, as an accounting firm, of course, we want to recommend this to our clients, right? We want to help them and empower them. honestly, this applies at accounting firm level too. If your
100%.
consultants have a budget for buying new software or doing CPE, or your bookkeepers can do apps, try it on yourself first. I mean, honestly, you're the easiest method. All of your different staff members have choices they have to make on what they spend money on, and usually they call you up and say, "Hey, I want to sign up for this conference." Well, you can turn those controls on if you're using the right tools. So if you're not even sure what tool to use, try it on your own darn firm before you recommend it to a client, and then you know it intimately, and you're a better advisor, and you can charge a lot for that.
So Gail, I think
Okay.
we need to take our first break.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we're going to break for a moment for a word from our sponsor, and we'll return with the first CPE code for this session.
As a trusted advisor, you understand the changing macro trends in the economy and your clients' need for tighter expense controls. Enter an approachable advisory opportunity with Spend Management Services. A spend management advisory is the ability to track expenses in real time, control spending, and see cash flow in one central location. Instead of looking post-transaction and reviewing reimbursement flow, organizations get more control and proactively allocate how to spend money. You can win big by leveraging card-based spend management technology to offer clients a value-added advisory service. How does it work? Corporate cards are issued to your client and connected to an integrated platform, so all company spend is pre-approved and tracked in real time. With spend management technology, you can help clients set budgets, track spend, and improve the accuracy of forecasts. Here's a quick example. Consider a construction client facing a 45-day payment delay. With spend management technology, you can help them identify potential problem areas in real time, allowing them to strategize proactively before the project's completion. The construction company can create a spending plan that accounts for the payment lag by assigning preset spending limits for employees, departments, and vendors. To learn more about spend and expense management, view our additional resources at cpa.com/spend-management.
And we are back, and at this point we'd like to display the first CPE code for this session. So be sure to write this down if you're planning on claiming CPE credit for this session. So now that you're getting all this information in real time, and you see what's being spent, how it's being spent, where it's being spent, how much is being spent, if you're the CFO or if you're the accountant advising the CFO in the company, what do you do with this information? How does it help you do business better, be more effective, whatever you need to accomplish?
Well, I think you start seeing now proactively real-time trends on where your client is spending money or where the organization that you're running is spending money, and is it aligning with what you were planning for that month or that period of time, or that event. So if it's centered around, hey, I'm sending 3 to 5 sales or marketing staff to a big event, we have a budget of $50,000. Are we aligned to spending on that, or are we trending towards overspending that? Instead of waiting till the event's over, you now know in real time during the week of the event of what's happening, right? And then you can make proactive decisions for yourself or for your client on what adjustments need to happen, and also make those proactive adjustments literally in the software, the technology that you're using for controls.
And I don't want to make an assumption, but I'm going to assume that you're charging for it.
Yeah.
Because see, that's the issue, is too many of us give this kind of information away for free, so please knock it off. If you've got the insights, that's what the client values and pay for. Now, then what you do with it depends on your cadence. What kind of an arrangement do you have with your client? We have subscription services, so we have a regular, as the year goes, engagement, where then we have a protocol where we have that conversation. If you don't, figure out what your cadence is going to be so that you can bring that to them. And then what you do with it is based on their goals. What is that client trying to accomplish? Then you use that information to give them guidance on actions to take with it. And I love the event thing, that real-time event thing, there's stuff always going on. So it depends on your client, your industry, and your cadence. We have a mechanism that allows it to be just organic. We're always bringing stuff up. But if you don't, you've got to figure that out first before you jump into, oh, by the way, I got a great idea for free. because you just gave it away for free. So please make sure it's part of your business process. That's why this session has the word advisory in it. We want you to realize this is a gateway into some very easy strategic planning that you can charge for.
But Sean, this is the opposite of what we're hearing at these other sessions where we're like, you can't charge for this because the audience, your clients expect you to know all this and you should just spend all this time on your own researching it. So what can you charge for and what can't you charge for? Or do they even need to know that, what you're charging them for?
The clients, if you have the proper engagement, the clients are paying you for your knowledge. And maybe that first engagement where you're learning, you're getting paid to learn, that's fine. Then you just rinse and repeat. You build processes, you build consistency that's repeatable. But universally, if other people are saying don't charge for it, I'm sorry, suck it up, you have to just learn this and that's a cost of doing business, I completely disagree.
Yeah, I disagree as well. We're in a profession that's so used to billing time, right? And it's time I take to learn, time I take to grow, time I take to give advice. And the opposite needs to be true, which is no, you're paying for knowledge, you're paying for access to knowledge. The amount of time it would take your client to go figure this out is actually way longer, way more. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to access this information. And they're depending on your expertise for it. So the relationship you establish with your client in the very beginning and throughout the relationship really needs to be based on level of knowledge and expertise, not on, well, how much time, how long does it take me to do this?
Price.
Right, value price this relationship. But it's because our profession is so used to billing time and measuring time and rewarding on time, incentivizing on time, and that language just needs to go out of the way, that practice and behavior.
Yeah, you use these tools and you get wildly efficient. You're punished for becoming more efficient because, oh, well, it only took me 10 minutes, so I'll give it for free. Knock it off. If you save them $20,000, good grief, there better be 3 zeros, a number, and then 3 zeros of some kind for that invoice. It just needs to be commensurate with what value you're bringing. Stop punishing yourself. I love that.
Well, and we see, working with firms that are offering these services today, we kind of see a few camps, if you will, of where a firm can offer advisory or bring advice, right? We see kind of the front end around the discovery and the diagnostic of your client's processes, right? So thorough conversation around you know, how money moves in and out around their businesses, their accounting systems, how they are set up, can really surface a lot of challenges for decision making down the road, right? So there's that diagnostic process that should command a price point as well, right? There's time that goes into that, and that alone, before we've even gotten into the solution, is a value add to the clients. Then once you get there, there's really kind of some processes around the controls. We talked a lot about controls. What is the spend policy, right? Like, what is a business's spend policy? A lot of business owners need help there, and we're at the forefront of being able to assist. And then there's ongoing services, right? And this ongoing visibility, which is a good question, like you asked, Gail, around now what does the CFO do with that knowledge? But those are a few services before we've even gotten to actually doing the work that you can charge for.
Yeah, project, subscription. Project, you're paid to analyze what the best solution is for that client. Now, you may already know what the solution is. I mean, this could be, they don't need to know that. You've got to look at their situation, look at their books, look at their company. That's a project, and that's, again, thousands of dollars you can charge to understand and make a recommendation, and your knowledge.
Your knowledge.
If it took you 10 minutes because you're like, oh yeah, I know it, but then you get to the implementation. You could be an implementation specialist. Congratulations, that's a version of advisory. Project, get it in place and say, thanks guys, and peace out, and you're gone. But oh, you want us to help you with insights. Now you've moved into subscription. But you've brought value, they tend to be more receptive to the subscription relationship once you've already shown, oh my gosh, look how much better we are. And of course, if they get in there and can't figure it out, they need you anyways. So you're right, it's project, subscription. We do that all the time.
Yeah, you both gave some great insight into opportunities. So for those of you who are kind of new at this idea, imagine a different space in the HR space, consulting space. There's clients that pay HR consultants for employee handbooks, employee manuals. Well, you gave a great example, spend management policies. Most organizations don't have one. Most small businesses never heard of that topic or heard of that word to have a policy for their employees to see. Charging for that, charging a flat fee or a value price to build that for a client and doing it customized to the organization, and then aligning it to their HR handbook, aligning it to their onboarding process when they bring on a new employee. That itself is a service that could be offered. I don't know many accounting firms offering that service. Instead, they're going, let's just charge by the hour to see how we build this, right? And well, what if you were able to get hundreds or if not thousands of clients coming to you as the standard for spend management policy? That'd be an amazing category of service. And then, as you said, now what's next? I need to implement this spend management policy using technology. Now you become an expert in implementation. So, and this is all before the actual management's happening, right? The amount of services that could be offered.
And one thing that I get extremely preachy about, you don't have to do any of it. You can do one part of it. You can do all of it. You're never boxed into, and you'll hear me say this later because unfortunately you're going to get a lot of me today. I apologize in advance. But advisory services, you get to choose what they are. You can choose to just be an implementation specialist, and that's your jam, and that's what everybody knows. And if you become famous for this segment, you can build an entire career around things just like that. So you get to choose if this is interesting to you, if it's interesting to your staff, and how far you want to take it. You're never committed to the all or nothing proposition. And too often when I'm teaching to accountants, they think, that's just too much, I can't do it. Then don't. Do what you want to do. We're giving you an option of a way to help your client and monetize that in a way and differentiate yourself. That's the key.
Well, speaking of deciding what you want to do, let's launch that first poll question.
Great. So the question is, which of these services do you provide? And this is for the audience. And we're asking about proactive advising on spend controls, annual review of expenses, conversations around approval processes, credit card to expense report reconciliation, all of the above, or I'm too busy doing tax returns, which I am sure many of you will answer that. Already 62% said the last one. I mean, that was instantaneously, but we'll see.
And that's why I have a business.
So a fun fact about this question while the polling's coming up, about a year ago, CPA.com launched a survey of about 1,400 businesses. About 1,000 of them were SMBs and 400 were firms. And it was the questions around spend. And about 78% of the small to medium businesses said, we want help with our proactive spend strategy. However, of the 400 firms we asked, less than 33% were offering any services tied to this question
So the clients
here.
want it from their CPAs, and the CPAs don't offer it to them.
The demand, right? The demand is there. The supply is not.
It might mean that the firms accessing a different talent pool to offer this service.
Yeah.
You actually want to look at people with backgrounds and experience as AP clerks, as staff accountants, right? As AP account
Sales managers. Yeah.
They can offer this. It doesn't require technical accounting knowledge to offer this service. It really requires the ability to have a conversation, to highlight insights, right? And those who are used to entering volumes and volumes of bills and expense data, they're used to looking at this information, and hey, they may go, wow, I think I actually can offer some valuable insights to these clients after seeing all this data for so long. So it's also the firm saying, look, you don't need to take your tax preparers and your tax experts and remove them out of tax planning and tax returns in order to do
They
this.
might not necessarily even have that skill set.
Yeah,
Forget about
exactly.
that you're running out of capacity. They just might be really uncomfortable even doing that kind of thing.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, but this is an extremely important point. How many times are we hearing people, I can't find the right talent? We know that. We know there's not a lot of accountants. Michael just solved the problem. Please understand how important that is. We don't have to hire accountants to add advisory services to an accounting firm to generate revenue. We have just now solved. Michael has just now solved.
Single-handedly, actually.
His cape is behind his jacket right there. But that's critical, right? That is a solution to creating more revenue for your firm in a way that we don't throw up our hands and go, where am I going to find the people? They're out there.
Right.
Yeah, and the title of today's session is Approachable Advisory, and really this conversation encompasses what CPA.com means by that, right? We get asked often, because I think all or many firms are offering advice and advisory services in some capacity, most for free and maybe ad hoc, right? So what we're talking about is kind of packaging and intentional packaging of these services. And approachable advisory really is about, a lot of clients need this today. A lot of your clients that are in your kind of books of business or that you're meeting with as potential new clients need help with the things that we're illuminating today. more of the staff can have the conversation, because a lot of advisory is aspirational for firms. If we're talking about, like, full controller, CFO, financial and business insights advisory, that's aspirational for a lot of firms. This conversation is a little bit more palatable. Another firm story from this week. Sorry, I'm fresh from our digital CPA conference, so I had a lot of these. I was speaking with a firm, and they happen to be a partner of a spend management tool, and he said his best resource in his firm is his executive assistant. His EA, who has no formal finance training, no formal accounting training, but understands the inner workings of the company and how spend plays a role in their budget and how they're setting their strategy, is his go-to when it comes to meeting with his potential clients. So if we talk about who can provide these services, it's a much wider pool of people. And that on-ramp.
Where are you finding those services, those people, Jayson?
Yeah, I mean, as that case in point, though, that was an executive assistant, right? So that wasn't even necessarily a staff
Already
account.
within your firm.
Yeah, and it's, you would be surprised the amount of, if we just take the people you have today, so let's not add people to the conversation yet, let's just take the people that you have today. If you just change the conversation that those people are having with your clients or your potential clients, and starting to unpack and understand their business process and how spend flows around their business, you would be surprised as to how many of those people today can offer that advice in your firm.
Well, and that comes into also one of our key elements when we hire for employees. We hire to our core values, period. Your resume is important, but it's less important than who you are as a human being. And so when you find that EA that is, and again, not enrolled agent, executive assistant, but you find that individual that is motivated and has an owner's mindset and has that problem solver thing, you can leverage that into any other tool. A great person can create power in a company irregardless of what their background is. And so again, we've been so myopic about we need accountants. Break that. We hire to our core values. And if you haven't read the book Traction, please do. That's where a lot of this comes from. We have 6 very clear core values. If you aren't that, you aren't us, and it doesn't matter what the rest of your resume says, period. And that could be what that person is. That lady or guy, whoever the EA is, has a core value of being that problem solver and amazing. Nurture that stuff. It's awesome.
Okay, we're going to take another quick break to hear a word from our sponsor, CPA.com, and when we come back, we'll provide you the second CPE code for this session.
CPA.com's mission to drive transformation of practice areas, advance the technology ecosystem, and lead technology research and innovation is positioning firms for today and for the future. See how CPA.com is the accounting profession's trusted resource in the digital age. Learn more at CPA.com. Empowering trusted advisors with business and technology solutions.
Welcome back. And at the bottom of the screen, you should see the second CPE code for this session. So be sure to record that if you're planning on claiming CPE credit. Okay, we were talking about the types of services that you can provide, and we have poll results, I believe.
Yeah, we do. Let's see. I'm going to send it to the audience. And it's still 42% says I'm too busy doing tax returns. But 26.5% said all of the above. Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
And 22.5% said annual review of expenses, which makes sense. What about the ones that people aren't answering? Or what are the opportunities there? Proactive advising on spend controls. Only 3% said that, and less than 3% said conversions around approval processes and credit card to expense report reconciliation.
So I think we have to back up and go. However you structured your firm, and what you're trying to build is exactly designed for that. So if you designed a firm to basically, and which I think most firm owners have, is they're basically tax preparers. Yeah. They've built a tax preparation firm, and their clients perceive them as that and are paying for that service. So in order to shift over, one, you actually have to think about building a different firm. It has to be structured differently. The talent has to be different. The incentives of how you pay your talent have to be different, because you have to incentivize them to want to deliver other services besides tax preparation. And the way most of our staff have thought about themselves in tax firms is, I get paid and incentivized to prepare returns.
Yep.
And they're only going to think that way if that's the way they're measured, right? And so if you actually want to offer these other services and transform your firm into something other than a tax preparation, there's nothing wrong with tax preparation firms. That's a service that's needed. People are paying for it. But seeing the demand for this kind of service, and if you're wanting to shift your firm to an advisory firm, then you're going to have to think differently and approach it way differently than that.
And it's a journey. Please don't. It's very overwhelming, and again, I speak on this stuff all the time, and coach on it. It's overwhelming to think I'm a tax firm. This is what I've been doing for 25 years. You're telling me I have to overhaul my staff, my process, my billing? Forget it. I'll just retire. Breathe. That's the whole point of this. We're giving you a tool that's here's a sliver. Give it a go. You don't have to overhaul everything. You just have to take these incremental steps. And what is it Mark Twain said, the success to accomplishing something? I'm really screwing this quote up, but the first step to success is taking the first step. I royally messed that quote up, but you know what I mean.
But it was the first step.
But it was the first step. It was the first step of getting a quote right.
So like imagine you have a once a year. Here's a great example, very tangible. You have a once a year service with your clients. You do reviews of their expenses. Now those meetings are probably occurring between now and the end of Q1, right? Think about who are the staff, and maybe it is an EA, maybe it's somebody you want to give a promotion to that's done doing tax returns. They're saying, look, if I don't get a different role, I'm not doing taxes anymore. I'm out of here. Given this opportunity, not only are you going to meet and do a review, now you're going to offer a fixed monthly fee to do spend management throughout the whole year. You're going to stop focusing on, hey, we did this review, no changes have occurred. How are you going to implement those changes? Well, how's this going to impact your next year's budget? What about the growth? Is it aligned? So now you have a new service offering that you have a team member or team members that can start offering it. I know for most firms, you can't rely on the same team that's going to go into the tax season to offer this. It's not going to happen. They're going to get sucked into tax returns. So very simply, start offering, meet with the clients, and offer this new service for 2024. Right?
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to do a follow-up question that came from the audience, if that's okay. That's related to this, and then from Michael, and then Sean, and then I'll go back to Gail. It's about, now we're going to get into money. This is happening every single session, right? So the question is, how do you charge for spend management? So Michael, then Sean, and you're saying, okay, value price, this and that, but I think that they just don't know how to figure it out. How do you know that you're not underpricing, that they're going to be, if you normally do hourly and then you're like, okay, this is the flat fee I need to charge, and then you're spending all this extra time and you just shot yourself in the foot.
Right. Well, this, Sean will have great insight into this as well. This is an advisory arrangement, right? And so the confidence you have to portray as this is a service line that your clients want and need, and for you to value price this, the most creative value pricing would be, if I'm able to cut your spend over the next year and save you 5% in these specific areas that are significant to your organization, you're spending 15% of your spend here. If I'm able to cut that by 5 or 10%, can I share in that savings with you? The most sophisticated organizations do that. The ones that are in telecom consulting or other areas of expense consulting, they actually value price and share in the savings up front. So that would be the most sophisticated. If you're afraid to go there, it would be, hey, for a fixed monthly fee, I want to be able to meet with you. And instead of once a year, we're going to meet monthly. I'm going to implement this tool, and we're going to actually measure the spend of your organization, and we're going to implement some controls, some spend controls for your organization. And so it might be the client has a point of contact that's different than the client themselves. Do you have somebody in your organization that really is the one spearheading spend or expenses inside your organization? Let me be their point of contact. Let's meet once a month and let's go through this together. So that's an example of how you can get this kind of tangibly implemented for your firm.
Great example.
And if you're saying, and somebody's freaking out saying, I can't contingency fee. Yes, we know some of you cannot contingency fee. We understand that. That's just an option if you are not bound by that restriction. There is no one way. I've written articles on this. You can go Google and try to find some of them. A lot of people have. There's a lot of great price theory. Here's the thing. You're going to screw it up. You're going to screw up. The first time you're going to do it, you're going to screw up. Whatever you think you are going to charge, at least double that. And you can, if you want a rule of thumb, is it 10 to 20% of whatever you project the savings to be. So if you think the savings is $10,000, charge them $2K. And if they freak out, say, you know, for you, you're a good client. I'll do it for $1,500. You've anchored to $1,500 sounds like a deal, and you just made $1,500 on something that you probably would have charged $250 for. Value pricing is about measuring and estimating what you think it's worth to the client and how far, and you're going to keep pushing it. I actually just ran new numbers yesterday. My average client when I was a tax prep firm was worth $800 a year of revenue. Whoopie-doo. Yeah, as of yesterday, the average clients were $14,000 a year to me. That is 30% higher than it was 12 months ago. Well, if I've been doing this, and I made my big transition in 2017, and yet I'm still increasing 30%, I'm about to bump it up another 40% this year, I haven't nailed it either. No one has got it perfect. Your clients are different than my clients, which are different than Michael's clients. Value pricing is about understanding your client, what value you're bringing to them, and charging, quite frankly, as much as you can that they will pay. I had an old mentor say, if they're not complaining about the invoices, I'm clearly not charging enough. Which I don't know that I agree with that, but it gives you a feel of there's a threshold. How much would you pay me to give you a free $10,000 vacation? Would you give me $1,000? Would you give me $5,000? Would you get $9,000? I did this as a poll on one of my webinars. Something like 70% of the people said they would pay me $9,000 to get a $10,000 vacation. Would you charge? Yeah, they saved $1,000.
All right.
So if I saved you $10,000 in taxes, would you pay me $9,000 to do that? Well, 70% of CPAs, who are not notoriously big spenders, said they'd pay $90,000. That could give you insight to how much your client would pay. I'm not saying they will pay you 90% of what the net savings is, but they might. You don't know. Try it, experiment, screw up. It's okay. Screw up on the new client, and so you don't tick off your old clients. There's a lot of ways to do this, but you've got to get out there and be willing to fail a little bit, because the worst thing that happens is they say no. You didn't lose a client, you just didn't get a new deal.
There's already a practice of this in accounting. You see this in R&D tax credits, right? We've seen this in PPP loan support, ERTC loan support, or grant support. So why is this a surprise? Right? It shouldn't be a surprise. It's just shifting our mentality that clients are willing to spend for value, and especially if you're that value, you're already doing a big part of their practice, which is either their tax return or their books or other areas of accounting. They trust you. They want to work with you. They're begging you to introduce to them new services. And the thing is they're waiting around going, well, where are the new services? there aren't any. So they're finding other practitioners willing to offer it.
Yeah.
Well, and the conversation is an exciting one. I mean, as a firm starts to have this discussion with their clients, it opens up the door for so many more conversations and services. So as you're looking at, you know, how do you get a bigger share of wallet of your clients' back office support or whatever the kind of umbrella of the services that you're providing is, this is really an entry point to that. You get so much insight into how a business is running by understanding these concepts.
So I think what happens is, I mean, we've kind of gone down the path of you need to charge more and it's easy and, you know, monthly fees and consulting. But getting back to spend management, which we kind of wanted to focus on in this session, if I have a tax practice, for example. If I want to call myself a spend management expert and start billing myself as that and put it as a service on my website and identify that to my clients, what do I need to know myself? What do I need to learn? And then, well, the second part of that is exactly how should I market it to my clients? But let's start with what do people need to learn to call themselves that expert?
Well, every expert starts somewhere, right? Yeah. Which generally is their first step is they're not an expert.
Yeah.
Right? So they go and research and learn about the space and about the types of advice being given and the tools that are out there to implement. And so one, it's just start with go look at the tools. Yeah. There are a lot of the tools actually offer this education already.
Correct.
They offer the education and how to launch this service in your firm. And obviously, this is this session itself is one step for you as a firm owner to go, okay, I'm getting introduction into this. now let me go and go to CPA.com or go somewhere to start learning more about this and learn about the tools necessary to implement this.
I actually think one of our resources, Jayson, is a video on CPA.com about this particular topic.
Yeah, absolutely. CPA.com has a nice library of resources around spend management. In 2024, there will actually be a workshop rolled out around spend management advisory. We started a little bit of it at Digital CPA this year.
Nice.
And Michael, I think you hit the nail on the head. The vendors are really good as well. So whether that's Bill, whether that's Ramp, they have resources around kind of how do you get started? How do you start the conversation? How do you package the services? And I'm going to go back to my statistic a little bit ago from our survey around less than 33% of the firms offering this. If anecdotally, when I talk to firms, I think a lot of what comes back is, well, our clients aren't asking for it. So even though there's demand from the clients in the survey saying that, I think what it boils down to is oftentimes the client doesn't come to them saying that, saying, I need you to give me spend management advice.
Yeah.
They don't know that question.
You know what I really hate? I really hate my Amex points. Like, they're not coming to you saying something like that. So it's kind of incumbent on the firms to really lead and uncover some of that.
Well,
some of
and
that channel.
Jayson, sometimes they're saying it, but not like that, right? Because I've seen this evolution over the however many years I've been covering the accounting profession of they're looking for you to give them more and more advice about more and more things. But it might just be like a side comment where they're not like, can you please help me? They're just like, God, my finances are a mess or whatever.
100%.
And then you're like, ding, light bulb, right? So it's, are there questions, like when you meet with them, if you are a traditional tax preparer, are there questions that you can add when you're initially engaging them for tax that are like other areas, and you could start to say, can I talk, oh, Sean has a big smile.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Sean.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is great. I'll let Sean, you kick it off.
Well,
now.
okay, so I'm actually going to dovetail on something you said that is the software companies have done the homework for you. They're already marketing. Go to their websites, see what questions they're already asking, ask those. You don't even have to come up with your own question. They have already done all this market research on what the pains are and what the pain points are and the triggers are. Let their research companies be your sales tool. Steal that language and add it to it. But that is also the key to the word proactive. Proactive means you're bringing them ideas. You're not waiting for them to ask the question. So if you are listening for questions, software companies have already done the research, videos at CPA.com, but quite frankly, tell them what they need. They don't even know they don't need it. You tell them the value. And so you don't even have to wait for the trigger. You can then bring it to them when you see something. Now, if you're analyzing a tax return and you see meals and travel and some things feel wrong, you can ask them, does this look a little high to you? Because typically, and if you have some good KPIs on the industry, mostly the industry is right around 7%. You seem to be at 32. Let's have a conversation about that.
Right,
You
and
can
it's
trigger.
not so out of left field that you're asking them about this. It's still related to money, and they associate you with money.
And
right?
you have to have a procedure to make sure you're charging them for it. Don't review the tax return and start giving strategy if you weren't paid for it.
Right.
But it's about money. It's all about money.
It will feel out of left field if you don't talk to your clients ever. Right?
Okay, fair, Michael.
If the only point of you talking to them is, hey, here's your tax return, here's where to send the payments to. If that's what the only conversation you've ever had,
And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, how about this?
I'm noticing cost of goods sold spend is going up by 10%. Well, you want first off. So I think some tax preparers have to level set and go, hey, I want to be. And the thing is that you can be very transparent about it. You can say, hey, I'd like to offer more value to all my clients, including you. I really value this relationship. I want to offer more. Here's what I'm proposing to offer. This is what it's going to look like. There's your proposal. This is what I'm going to charge for it, right? And would you find this, and here's why I think your business will find it valuable. I'm noticing these insights from your returns from the past 3 years of doing it with you, and I can help you here. It's a very simple, but you actually have to cue that conversation up and then be very transparent. If you come to your client and go, I'm a little scared, I don't know if I should or should not. I watched one webinar about this and not sure if that language is not going to sell anybody. But if you say, hey, look, I've been your tax professional for 5 years. I have a lot more I know I can give you and my staff and team can give you. Here's what we're going to give you. This is what we're going to charge. We're taking on the first 10 clients that sign up. We're giving them a 5%, 10% discount for this because we believe this is so valuable. That confident conversation is what to offer, right? But you have to cue it up for them. Otherwise, they will think it's strange.
Or it's also okay to have a beta client or two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just
All the
say,
time.
tell them I'm starting this new service. I want to test it and offer it for a very low price, or and just I want your feedback. That's what I want.
Kind of build it together, right?
Yeah.
Now, I have had the flip side of that, where I was coaching a firm that they love the idea of, you say, if you've never done it before, they've never done this before, they say to the client, well, as you know, we also do advisory services, and we like to help people manage their expenses and their controls and minimize their taxes. And then I noticed these things. Would you like to engage us to help you with that? Because I'm noticing these trends. Portraying confidence even when you've never done it. I mean, go behind the scenes and freak out. But you've already observed something. You probably already have a suggestion.
Yeah.
But as you already know, well, they didn't because you've never done this before. But they're going to go, well, why didn't you tell me about this before? Well, I wanted to make sure I understood your trends before I approached you about it. But I feel there's a need. So false confidence, I'm sorry, it works really, really well. Because you're right. If you come in, I want to maybe give some advice to you, but please don't hit me. They will continue to ask you questions for free if you don't level set back to, this is an additional service, are you interested? You have to separate the two, and that's a very easy way to do it. As you already know, I also offer these services. You just separate it as an add-on service, and you can charge for it.
So Sean, something you said at the beginning of the show that I thought is wildly appropriate to this discussion is, as a firm, you all can implement some of this spend management internally.
Yeah.
What a great way to get comfortable, right? What a great way to understand what you have visibility into or what your client has visibility into. That will help you queue up some disarming questions around, hey, if looking in next tax season, what are a few items of visibility that would help you make decisions faster, and you will have some of those kind of levers to pull if your firm is starting this process internally. Your team will get excited, right? They'll start to understand how to position it better. That confidence that Michael just talked to, that's one of the kind of quick ways to get to that.
Okay. We're going to take one more quick break for a word from our sponsor, CPA.com, and then we'll be back with your final CPE code for this session.
AICPA Town Hall, a high-impact news broadcast to help you navigate the most pressing issues facing the profession. Get timely and critical information, real-time interpretation, and analysis. Learn strategies, best practices, and capabilities to drive long-term success for your clients and organization. Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
We are back. Thank you so much for watching that important word from our sponsor. And now we would like to show you on the bottom of the screen the third CPE code for this
Sean,
session.
you look like you want to do it.
He
You want to do
does.
it?
It has googly eyes on it.
It does.
All right. Be sure to write down this code if you're planning on claiming CPE credit for this session. So one of the things I'd like to address is what are the macro trends that are making this suddenly an issue, that spend management is kind of front and center now? What's changing in the environment?
Yeah, Gail, I can start there. So I think there's a few kind of higher level macro trends to discuss. So one is, if you're not familiar with the white paper, Frictionless Finance, I would recommend to the audience, go take a look at Frictionless Finance.
We'll put a link to that in our resources for this session.
Perfect. And it's really about, and it's a Workday, Deloitte, and the AICPA. It's a joint effort, but it's really, if I could summarize, it's around the speed of decision making driven by data is getting compressed, right? It becomes a competitive advantage. Enterprise level organizations are investing huge here. They believe that spend management, and that means a lot of things, even more than what we're just talking about, is a several billion-dollar investment in the industry over the next few years. And it's really about giving businesses better insights, better decision-making quicker. Well, if we're looking at, technology is the great equalizer, and that's starting to kind of push down. The big players have been doing this for a long time. More and more companies are trying to make this affordable and available to the small to medium business. Small to medium businesses have a competitive advantage by their very nature and their nimbleness, but they don't always have the infrastructure to support them to make these decisions fast. And that's the role, I think, that the profession can help bridge that gap, is what's kind of making the small to medium business sing around being able to react to their clients, but how to get the data to make those decisions quickly and efficiently. So those are some of the macro trends, and just overall the demand for more services. Many of your websites, I'm sure, say that you are a trusted advisor to your clients, and you are. This is kind of opening that maybe horizon a little bit around what they come to you for from a value standpoint.
Yeah, I think there's probably also two other trends. One is global workforce talent and access. Now you want to empower that global workforce with the ability to look at spend and have more quick decisioning around that. And then secondly, as you said, the technology that everyone, all of us, including small organizations, even solopreneurs, can start implementing into their own business is now accessible and is easy. It's as simple as downloading it from the App Store on iPhone or the Android store and just putting it on your phone. Those tools weren't available before the past 5 years, basically. Now they're available to everybody.
And obviously, trend of being a niche, right? Or pinky up niche, however you want to say it. The power is in driving into specificity. And having a niche does not always mean industry. That's where we migrate to. I have a niche that we help medical practitioners. That's one of our niches. This could be a niche. I am the spend management guru. I am the spend management queen. Whatever it is, that could be your niche. And like you said, he said billion with a B. Just take a little sliver of that. How successful could you be if you just add that service and you're the guru on this thing, and all of the rest of us accountants come to you because we still don't understand it. You get to choose this as one option. So globally, we're all talking about driving into a niche and having a specialty. We all think industry. This is a niche, and you could be the guru, and that's another opportunity for you if it's something that interests you.
I do have to correct one thing. My wife is actually a spend management
it's
queen. Queen. So she's the queen. So they could be a princess.
Okay, we'll go with emperor.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, we can.
So we have just over a minute left. Do we have any quick advice for what you want to look for in your tech stack as you're expanding to offer more complex services to your clients, including spend management?
I'll move fast, and I'll let these guys go. I think it's the ability to have visibility into the spend at the source, the ability to set the controls on the front end to allow for that. Virtual cards, Michael touched on it. This is a huge area, one that I'm really excited about around what that offers. And then the support for the accounting profession. Like, that's a big one too, right? Not just that they sell directly to the clients, but that the vendor is out there helping the the folks like Sean and Michael here provide these services to their clients.
Yeah. Your firm can benefit from sharing in the revenue or fees with some of these tools. And so if your firm's able to and allowed to do that, make sure you look into those partnership agreements.
Yeah, and then this all can be overwhelming. So when you're talking about choosing your tech stack, honestly, just go watch the video on CPA.com. That'll give you the first step of what are those tools that are out there that you might want to know. Because you will then eventually migrate toward, this is the one that fits my clients the best. Yeah. You'll know because you know your clients.
And you might choose a few. You might choose a few.
You could be
it
an
allows
advisor.
you to do that.
Yeah, you can be a broker on which one to choose based on multiple clients. But you got to start somewhere. Start with simple video. I got to start gathering data to figure out which tool even matters to me.
All right, well, thank you all so much. This was great. As we mentioned before, we will, when we post the videos on our site, which will be within about 2 weeks, we will also alert you by email and provide a resource sheet for this and every session with links to where you can go for more information. Thank you for being with us this session. Don't go away. Top of the hour, we're going to be talking about big data, what that actually is, and how much is too much big data. So we will see you back at the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, CPA.com, for sponsoring. We're out.